Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Jare Priya. When I was in my masters and I was also dreaming for UGC NET English Literature exam, so at that time I had no roadmap, okay? And I asked one of my respected professors to give me some materials and question papers. So, she certainly gave me, but the thing is that when I brought it to my home and I started solving those question papers, I thought that these questions are quite unfamiliar to me. Those writers, those novels, those publications here, came out of the blue, which I really had no clue. And then I realized that I have to make my roadmap through the PYQs, as I already mentioned. Now here I'm also going to give you some beneficial, points that you should make your notes with. Now, I have already posted one video for those free websites and free channels that I used to follow while my preparation, so you can also check that in my description. Now the first thing that I'm going to talk about is of novel and the dramas. Okay, I'm not going to talk about poetries and the other genres, because I know that you must be well studied, must be read for those things, and from where you can make your notes, right? But we find ourselves in a maze when we try to make our notes from novels and from any drama. So the first thing that you have to know is the gist of any novel or a drama. Now you must be thinking that okay, Ria, but there are many things that we have to need, have to read in a novel, right, to understand it deeply. But understand the thing, we don't have the whole year to prepare for this exam. We have only 6 months in our hand, and if we calculate to for the 180 days to read all the novels, perhaps we will end doing nothing, right? So it's better only to know the gist and the peak point that you think that okay, you should keep in your notes. Now, the second thing that you have to know is the subtitles of any novel or any drama. See, the PYQs are the evidence, real evidence, where you will see that subtitles can be asked from the net point of view. Okay. Now, there are many subtitles. For example, this 2023 December also net has asked one questions from the subtitles, and that questions was from the match the following, right? And there were four novels at the left of the question, and there were the subtitle on the right of the questions. Now you have to match the thing. Now the questions were from Frankenstein, the Vanity Fair, and Frankenstein, the Vanity Fair, and then the Castle of Otranto. Okay, and on the right side there were the names of the subtitles. For example, Gothic Story. The second one was Pure Woman, and the third one was a novel without a hero. Okay, so you have to be well prepared with those subtitles, and subtitles are not the titles only, but the concealing meanings that you have to find out, and the author also had its own meaning from the subtitles. Okay, so you know that how much subtitles are important. But here I know that some students think that these are not important, because if one time they were being asked, then it's not possible for the next time they can ask the same thing, and that is the mistakes students do. Now the third thing that you have to know is you know the characters of the novel, be it the major characters, be it the minor characters. You have to know all the characters from the novel, and you have seen from the PYQs that characters being asked for many times. And this time 2023 December also, NTA has asked the characters, and the questions was from the Persuasion, written by Jane Austen, and the question was, which among the following is not a character of Persuasion, written by Jane Austen? And there were some characters like Mrs. Russell, then Captain Winford, and Mrs. Crowdy, and you know that Mrs. Crowdy is not one of them, right? So you know how characters are also important. Now the fourth thing that you have to know is the important quotations. Now quotations, in one place they are very humorous, and also they are very philosophical, while we will try it in our own life. And I personally love all those quotations, from my experience that I'm telling you. And when you will read, you will dive into all those quotations. There are so many lovely quotations that you would definitely love. And one of those quotations is Anna Karenina, written by Leo Tolstoy, and I really like this quotation. And the quotation says that all happy families are alike and all unhappy families are unhappy in its own way. So how beautifully written the, how beautifully the dialogue is written, right? So in this way you also have to know that how quotations are important, and you have to put those important quotations in your copy if you also want to get the extra marks from NEET. Now there are many novels, and dramas from which you can directly jot down all the quotations from in your notebook. And among them was like Charles Dickens novel, Jane Austen's novel, Charlotte Bronte's novel. All the novels are really very much important while making your quotations. Now the five things that I'm going to tell you here is the symbols and the motifs. Now what are the symbols? Symbols mean, a recurrence object or a substance that are being used in a novel again and again, okay, or be it in drama. And motifs are, just like symbols, but motives, we can, can connotate it in a, like, brief meaning, not that of the broad meaning, just like symbols. So like I'm giving an example. Virginia Woolf's novel To the Lighthouse is very much important, where Virginia Woolf has pointed many symbols in her novels, okay. And to the lighthouse itself is a symbol of purity and serenity, while there are other symbols like, Lily's painting and the sea, okay, these are also very important symbols. The sixth thing, and that is the publication dates, okay, and publication years. Now it's obvious that it's not possible for us to remember all the publication dates and all the publication years, right? But one thing that we can do is to relate all the publication years to any other work. I'm giving an example. When I was also preparing, I also used that trick, okay. And the trick is that I used to, connect with one thing to another. For example, Arthur Miller, an American dramatist, who has written a novel called The Death of a Salesman, and he has written it in 1949. And I can easily tell you that 1949 was the year when William Faulkner got his Nobel Prize for his literature, okay. So you see how easily I can tell, and how, it has been a long time, but still I can remember that. Why? Because I know how to relate one thing to another. So you have to also relate one thing to another to remember all the things. The seventh thing, that is the references. Now what are the references? References means, just like the current connections, okay. As I told you, if I'm just giving an example. Like you have must have, heard the novel Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, okay. So an African writer, Jean Rai, also has given a tribute by writing his White Sagoda Sea for this novel Jane Eyre, written by Charlotte Bronte. So you have to know what kind of films were being, adapted from these novels, or what kind of dramas from which the another dramatist took his dialogues, okay. This kind of connections, this kind of references that you really need to have in your notebook, okay. Now last but not the least is the genre. Now genre means the kind, okay. And there are many kind of genres of novels as well as the dramas. For dramas we have closet drama, tragedy, comedy, tragicomedy, right? You have to know their characteristics well. For example, Samuel Beckett's novel, the Samuel Beckett's novel Waiting for the Godot is a tragicomedy in 2 acts. Now you have to know the genre, okay, while pointing this. Perhaps NT will not ask you the question directly, okay. It will ask you in a indirect way, but you have to know that, okay, so that you can answer those questions. And in case of novels also we see many genres. For example, we have Bildung's romance, we have Picaro's novels, we have history fictions, we have science fictions, we have non-fictions, and we also have campus novels. So there are many genres that you have to point out, and you have to find out from novels and dramas. For example, Jonathan Swift novel The Gulliver's Travels and also Robinson Crusoe written by Daniel Defoe are example of Picaro's novels, because these novels are surrounded in the story of adventurous boys. Now these are the things that you need to have in your notebook if you also want to crack this exam in your first attempt. So here I have shared all the things. If you really like this video, do like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to